Welcome to all of you out there, my dear astrology friends. This is a small, very short extra video for all of you out there who've noted that there's a lot happening in the sky. There's a lot of different energies occurring at the same time. And the purpose of this video, it's a video about the Mars square Venus. And actually, I didn't mention that in the monthly horoscopes. And actually, I should have, could have. But it's too late now, so I'm making an extra video. And already, it's not that the monthly horoscopes were in a bad way, not at all. But there was already so much to explain. And this is just an adding video to it. And the energy that I'm going to describe now is specifically from the 16th of August, which is today, the 16th of August up until the 24th of August. So it's that pocket of time that I'm going to talk about. And the main thing I'm going to talk about is the Mars-Venus square. But I'm also going to repeat a couple of things that I said in the monthly horoscopes as well, so that you have that bigger picture of what's going on here. Now, the main thing is that when we have a Mars square Venus aspect, a lot of people think, oh, that's not important. Well, it only is a couple of days. And that's true. That's the truth. Mars square Venus, that is an aspect that lasts a couple of days. So it's not worth mentioning. But it is worth mentioning when behind the scenes, we are having a Jupiter square Saturn. And it's actually activating what we call a T-square. And a T-square is full of tension. And a T-square, and probably I hear a lot of people, including myself, but I hear a lot of people talking about this is very energy of pickiness, and it's energy of a bit of this and a bit of that. It's very neurotic energy as well. And I'll explain why that is, because that is felt correctly, because this is exactly the energy that what we're talking about. Now, how come? So, first of all, what is the purpose? What is the purpose of a Mars square Venus? The purpose is to restore the balance. And this is about relationships. So even if this Mars and Venus, maybe in your chart, it's in an area of your life that has nothing to do with relationships. But let's do the collective first, and then very quickly, but I mean very, very quickly for the 12 signs, because this part is way more important. The 12 signs, you already know that, what's going to happen in the monthly horoscope. So check out those videos, because this video is together with the monthly horoscope, together with the I'll put a link here at the end of the video as well of the Jupiter square Saturn video, because that one is important as well. So the key here is the balance, restoring it in relationships. Mars square Venus, you could say it's the lovers in the sky. They are battling with each other. Mars wants to do this and Venus wants to do something else. So yes, we're going to have lots of arguments and lots of and it's a bit all over the place. And why is it that we feel that this is all very nervous energy? This is because Mars is in Gemini, which is Mercury ruled. Venus is, and so Mars in Gemini, Mercury ruled, is like trying to do a bit of everything. It wants to start here and there. It's a lot of scattered energy. It wants to do this, it wants to do that, and it's driven by the monkey mind, right? I want to do this, I want to do that. And Venus in Virgo is saying, she's very picky. Venus in Virgo is extremely, extremely orientated towards the detail. That had its good place as well, of course, but now with this square, it can just fall over a little detail and make, you could say, a big deal out of it. Right? So that's typical. So these and Venus is in Virgo, and Virgo is also ruled by Mercury. So we're having these two energies, these two ingredients in the Virgo energy, in the Mercury energy, and Mercury is not doing the best now, because Mercury is going backwards and it's back into the end degrees of Leo and making itself up to a square to Uranus again. So it's under a lot of stress. So that's why people feel a lot of stress at the moment, not only because this is a square and there's those square going on, but specifically because it's Mercury ruled, right? So Mercury, in a good way, it's, you know, it's seeing the devil is in the detail and being very analytical and doing lots of things at the same time. These are all positive things, right? We can do that. We can tap into that if we stay into movement. And Mercury is, of course, the planet of movement. So if we stay into movement and we keep on going, we can have the better energy of this Mars in Gemini, getting a lot of things done simultaneously, almost simultaneously. And Venus in Virgo, which is being analytical, wanting to do it the right way and, you know, planning things and stuff, making lists and, you know, doing this every time when you've done that thing on the list. So there's good things in that as well. But I want to warn you for that energy that is very nervous. And it's there for a reason. It's there because it's trying to find its way. So a first advice is to stay in movement, right? And so even if you feel stuck and you don't know what's happening, you just keep on doing what you think is the best that you're doing in the moment. That is very, very important. Or you're going to have a walk. That's very good. Or dancing a little bit. It's also very good. Moving, as you might understand now. Now, this energy, as I said, this square is to rebalance. So we're going to have a lot of energy where couples, where people together are like this in a relationship, where one is the taker and the other is the giver. Now, there's nothing wrong with giving and taking as long as it's mutual, as long as you give maybe a couple of months you give a lot and then the other couple of months you receive a lot. You know, it doesn't have to be like, you know, the Virgo saying, yeah, today you have given, tomorrow I will be receiving. No, it has to be a bit of a natural thing there. But the thing is that it's out of balance at the moment. So where is it in your life where the relationship is like this, where maybe you have given too much and you give and you give and you give? This energy, it's going to make you feel like, frustrated in the first place. And very, very, this is then your wake-up call to stop giving and to say it as well with the Mercury retrograde, probably at the time when you least expect it, when you've stuffed it up too much. You know, we are having Mercury square Uranus during this period of time, which means like eruptions of speech, and especially if you stored it. So yes, keep that in mind. And it can also be the other way around, that you have been taking too much from a person and you're used to it. You think it's, you take it for granted. You know, we all do that sometimes. We are not doing it consciously. Sometimes we just take too much from a person, whether it is our lover, whether it is a family member, whether it is a friend, whether it is a neighbor, whoever it is. Watch out for that, because it's going to be restored, or at least there's going to be the energy of disruption in speech and in communication so that you can restore. So all of these energies are actually for a reason. It's very frustrating energy that we are in, very nervous energy. The best thing to do is move and ground, but at the same time, listen to Saturn. And now that is the whole piece that is important here, because we're having this Mars square Venus, but Saturn and Jupiter are involved as well, because they are in a square as well. Remember, Jupiter square Saturn, they are in a square, which means that one part of us wants to grow, one part of us doesn't. One part of us wants to expand and explore new horizons. Another part of us wants to stick to the comfort and same old, and be stubborn and, you know, just be rigid, so to speak. So we know that we have to do a bit of both here, and the time sharing for sure. But these planets like Venus and Mars are involved in this Jupiter square Saturn. Because yesterday and the day before that, Mars was conjoining with Jupiter. So we wanted to expand, but then immediately, as today, so yes, we want to do things to liberate ourselves, to have some purpose in life, to explore, but then it bumps into Saturn as from today. So because now today we have Mars square Saturn. So you see how nervous this energy is. It's like, yeah, I want to start, but as soon as you start, there is the brake that is working and you can't go forwards. Don't think that this is to annoy you. This is stuff that comes up again. And why again? Because we're having a Mercury retrograde. So stuff bubbles up that we haven't been dealing with correctly in the past. And there's no judgment here. It's just that it comes up for a reason. Because with this Mars that we just had with Jupiter and then bumping into Saturn, it's almost as if the universe is saying, didn't you learn that lesson? Oh, not yet. So I'm going to give that shitty pattern again here so that you learn it one day. So listen to Saturn, in other words, because ultimately Saturn is, you could say, the stronger planet. You know, you have Jupiter and then you have Saturn. Always a planet that is slower is actually a bit more, you could say, generational and a bit far away from us, but more challenging. So whatever it is that we wanted to go forwards with, that break is there for a reason. So check what you have to do to improve yourself. See Saturn as a learning master. See Saturn as a teacher. Don't be angry with it. Don't be angry with it. Because then you're going to have another layer, maybe not next month, but next year. And it's going to come up again and again, those patterns. If you want to get rid of your shitty patterns, listen to Saturn. Be mature. Listen to your inner voice in a very mature way. What would you do if you would be very mature, if you would be very understanding towards not only yourself, but everyone involved? So that mature way and responsible way, you cannot go wrong, even if things are happening that you don't like. So that's the Mars square Saturn. What is coming up is Venus as well. Venus also going to bump into the Jupiter Saturn. And it's going to be a bit simultaneously the next couple of days. So around the 19th, you're going to have this Venus square Jupiter, but opposing Saturn. Venus opposing Saturn is, again, when it comes to love, it's a coldness. So it's like Venus with Jupiter is, oh, I love you. I love you. I adore you. I've got this in my natal chart. Venus conjunct Jupiter. It's like, ooh, I squeeze and it fills up your heart. And then Venus Saturn is like, it cools down and it cools your heart. But none of them is better or worse. The Venus Jupiter is about hope, and it's about expansion, and it's about your love that grows with people and the purpose of connecting with people. But Saturn is not saying, oh, I'm cold, I don't want your love. No, Saturn is saying there needs to be rules in love. We need to have rules, because otherwise we walk all over each other. So this is about boundaries, and this is about healthy boundaries, mature boundaries, and no one likes that. No one likes, especially not a young person, but most people, they don't like those, to bump into those boundaries. But the thing is, if we haven't got them, we are not formed, and we are all over the place. So this Mars squaring to Saturn and this Venus opposing Saturn is really saying to us, do relationships in a mature way. Make sure that there is a balance between the give and take responsibility, but not too much. Also, give back the responsibility what is not yours, right? It's also that. Venus opposite Saturn. People are going to feel like, hey, that person always gave to me and now they don't, but it's for their own good. You cannot just in relationships take. And the other way around. So what a lesson this is, between the 16th of August and the 24th of August. Now, so we know what to do now. We know what to do. We know what to do. Breathe, that's for sure. And see the good out of it, you know, because when we are having stressful aspects, a lot of people want to run or fight or flight or freeze or whatever. But the trick is to stick to it, to see it and to understand it. And that's why I'm here, to make you understand and to give you some explanation of these energies and why they are around. Because when we understand them, we can deal with them better. We understand, oh yeah, we understand. You know, this too shall pass. And this is the attitude that we're going to take here. So stay cool and be hot, basically, is what I'm trying to say here. And I'm going to go over all the 12 signs, well, very, very quickly. For Aries people, Mars is in your 3rd house. So the busyness is in you doing lots of things at the same time, you being very, very busy and communicating and whatnot, but it bumps into Venus in the 6th house. So this is for a lot of you around work. This is around work. This is around colleagues, teammates, and so on. This is about people in your neighborhood, and this is about your habits. So quite some stress there, but you know how to handle it. Taurians, this is your 2nd house to your 5th house. This is your house, Taurus, the 2nd house of Gemini, excuse me, where Mars is. And it's in a square to Venus in the 5th house. So there is tension between your finances and the things you do to have fun or to relax, or children. So make sure that your finances, that you keep them in check. On another level, it can be love, that there is something about love that your values, it's not fitting. It's not fitting. Gemini is very important for you, especially if you have degrees around 17 degrees. You're going to feel this tremendously. And Mars is in your 1st house, squaring up to the 4th house where Venus is. So this is about you and your core. This is about you and your home. This is about your life path, basically. Because you have a big deal with this Mars in your sign. So for you, the whole intro is for you, and specifically to be aware that you are in the driver's seat. You have Mars in your 1st house. Cancer, this is happening, this Mars in the 12th, and it's squaring up to Venus in the 3rd. So Mars in the 12th is a bit tricky because it's very restless energy, and you could be having difficulty with sleep at this particular moment, but it's all for the good. It's all for you to try to understand where you're coming from and where your patterns that are the patterns that you're doing to escape, that you get rid of them. And you do that with the mind. So there could be a mind struggle happening this time, because you want to push down the thing that is not conscious, and that's not working anymore, but that's for the good. So tackle your patterns that are unconscious. Leo, the 11th house versus the 2nd house. So Mars in the 11th, this is about your goals, it's about your friends, and it squares up to the 2nd house. Do your friends and your goals match with your finances? Do your friends and your goals match with, more important, with your values? That's the whole question. It's just one question. Keep that in mind and work on it. Virgos, very important. If you feel this very strongly, you probably have planets around 17 degrees of Virgo. This is happening in your 10th house of career and squaring up to you. So be careful that you're not too picky towards yourself, that you don't want to be too perfect there. And especially when it comes to your work. So for you, it's very important not to overdo this, because this is typical of the Virgo, and to give yourself some movement in other areas of your life as well. also because you are so picky and perfect at the moment towards and so high demanding for yourself, be aware that you're going to do that with others as well. So breathe and make sure that you see yourself as a whole picture with the good, the bad, and the ugly. You don't have to be perfect at all. You have to live and enjoy life and be in the moment. That's your message. Librans, this is in the 9th house, squaring up to the 12th house. So this is about your mindset. This is about travel. This is about your connection with the divine and with the spiritual world. There's something about it to mature up and to get it a little bit more out of an unconscious state. And so make sure that you're not going, because your ruler is in the 12th house, Venus, make sure that you're not going to sacrifice yourself. That's not good for you. That's not good for anyone. Especially for people who don't want to be helped. Watch out for that, but work on that balance of your mindset. Scorpios, this is happening in your 8th house, which is your house, squaring up to the 11th. So there's something about value of other people and the friends probably as well in social gatherings that is, you know, a disbalance of give and take. There could be a friend who's taking too much, or you are taking too much of a friend. Whatever it is, it can be restored now. So do it. Sagittarius, this is, and specifically the ones who've got planets around 17 degrees, you're going to feel it in your relationships. So with that Mars, Jupiter in your 7th house, there's a lot of liveliness going on at this particular moment. And it squares up to Venus in the 10th house of work. So it's also your work that is connected here. There could be a disbalance between your relationships and your work. Maybe your work is demanding too much. Maybe your relationships are demanding too much and you can't do enough work. So whatever it is, you can do the restoration here for sure. The restore of the balance. Capricorns, from your 6th house to your 9th house. With Mars, Jupiter in your 6th house, that busyness squares up to your 9th house. And that is your belief system. So the belief system where you want to go in the future and where you want to go in the long run, your perspective of life clashes with your day-to-day life, with your work. You could be having too much work, too little work, whatever it is, there's a restoration that can be made here by looking a bit bigger and getting a little bit more that out of the box and out a helicopter view that you're doing. That's going to help you. Aquarians, the 5th house squaring to the 8th house. This is the house of the heart. The 5th house, the love house, and it squares up to the 8th. There could be issues around intimacy, issues around trust as well. So there could be a new romance, a new lover, and it's scary to open up and it's scary to show who you are. Make sure that there's a balance. Don't open up to everyone. Make sure that you have that discernment of Venus in the 8th house in Virgo, but also make sure that the transformation that's going on in your existing relationships is necessary. There's something around values and trust. You cannot demand of other people that they're going to be honest and real with you if you're not doing it yourself. So a lot of heart opening for sure, possible when you're doing it right in the way that you know what your values are and you stick to them. Remember Saturn in your 2nd house. Stick to your values, stick to your, don't push away your own values because of someone else. Pisces, last but not least, very important. If you have planets around 17 degrees of Pisces, you're going to feel this very, very strongly. This Mars, Jupiter in your 4th house. And of course, Jupiter is your ruler. So you are really having this energy of the introduction for sure, because Jupiter is your ruler. And it squares up to the 7th house. So this is your home, but also your relationships, how you connect with each other. There could be like, maybe people who have bought new homes are gonna do something with buying and selling, and with a third party, which is the 7th house. There could be some friction happening there, but it's for the restoration. Know that, do what you've got to do, stick to that Saturn in your 1st house. You know, watch your boundaries, do what you've got to do everything by the book, and you will get there. But there could be some tension between other people, between your home, and it's to restore that. So, having said that, I wish you all a very good Mars square Venus. And remember, keep it cool. Stay hot and keep it cool. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.